the wrongdoing with good deeds. Indeed, those when they have the great home and a good end. Indeed, it is going to be paradise. The gardens of Aden that they will enter themselves and all those righteous among their parents and spouses and their offspring. And the Malaika, the angels, will enter to greet them from all the gates of paradise and say to them, peace be upon you, Assalamu alaikum, bima sabartum, for all the patience that you had in your life. And it is indeed a great end and a great home for you, paradise. Thank you.
Alison.
Jazakallah for that. That was really beautiful. Thank you.
We'll move on to the next part. We'll have a short introduction on the Muslim Council of Scotland. And from there, we'll have a quick quiz after that. So the first thing that the Muslim Council of Scotland does is represent the Muslim community. We represent you to the media, to the Scottish Government, and to other key stakeholders. So there's a lot of work which gets done behind the scenes which people don't really see. And a lot of people don't understand and appreciate the hard work that goes in. But representing the Muslims across Scotland is a key factor of what we do. Lindsay, I'll let you take on.
Yeah, another thing, Zara, can I ask you to flip the screen, please? Another thing that we do is we support our communities. We do that through a range of ways. We connect with Scottish Government and also other organisations like Interfaith Scotland in order to support our communities throughout all the different areas of civic society. Because this is a really important thing. We also support our communities by actually engaging directly with our mosques and with our community in order to have their voices heard, and so that we can feed that back to civic society and the government and parliament. Asim?
Exactly, Lindsay, thank you very much. Finally, one of the main key features that Muslim Council of Scotland does is strengthening ties within the community, strengthening ties with scholars. We recently had a scholars dinner. We also recently strengthened ties with people who are actually forgotten quite a lot, the reverts of Muslims. Unfortunately, there'll be many reverts sitting at home by themselves this evening, who people have forgotten about or don't realize that they are such a large community. And we had a reverts dinner a few months ago, which was a huge success. And one of the most, I would say, most pleasing times I've had at the Muslim Council of Scotland, where you saw the community come together for the reverts. So that was really pleasing to see. And also the other key feature of the Muslim Council of Scotland is bringing the community together. That's a main feature and a really important part of what the MCS does. All right, so we're going to move on, I think, now to something more fun. And I think Zara's going to have that organised for us. We're going to have a bit of a quiz. So I hope you're all ready for this quiz. It's a multiple choice quiz, so don't worry, you're not going to be hung out to dry if you get the answers wrong.
Okay, go for it.
There we go.
Okay, so our first question is, what is the most popular eaten fruit in the world? So folks, you can all click onto your little quiz sheet there, and you'll be able to answer that.
Oh, can't see a quiz sheet at the moment.
Oh, is it not a quiz sheet? Okay, we can just do it verbally if people want to take off mute, and then we can just do it all verbally, and I'll be able
to. Or you can or type it in the chat.
Oh yeah, type it in the chat.
You might avoid like a roar of voices.
Type it in the chat. I just like to be chatty. You should all know that by now. I just like to be chatty. So if people want to type it in the chat, and we can see what the most popular fruit is.
So the most popular fruit, the options you've got are mangoes, cucumber, bananas, watermelon, or tomato. Mango, good choice. Oh, I knew it was going to be mango.
So tasty.
Oh, you're right.
Do you know what? I've never been a fan. I have never
No,
been a fan.
I'm going to get you a good one.
I know.
Wow.
So somebody's poll is working.
Oh yeah, someone's poll's working. Brilliant.
Oh, good.
So
Let's see.
the person that
Last
said
one.
banana, that's you. Okay, great.
So
So
I
a few
think
people's
Alison
working.
do all of them, and then we'll reveal the answers at the end.
Okay, next question. What is lachanophobia? A fear of hot food, mushrooms, dark places, fruit, or vegetables?
See, again, blackanophobia.
Lachanophobia.
Blackanophobia.
Yeah. Oh, somebody else's poll's working. That's good.
Right, go on the next one while we're...
Right. Next one. What is the name of the hottest chili pepper in the world? Habanero, Serrano, the ghost pepper, or a Carolina Reaper? Okay, and next question. What year did Mark Zuckerberg invent Facebook? 2003, 4, 6, or 7? Another question. What does an arctophile collect? Fish, stamps, teddy bears, or sticks?
See, I left that one for you to ask us because I couldn't work out how to say that word.
You can take on the rest now, Lindsay.
Okay, so which king is said to have burnt the cake? Peter, Henry, Alfred, or Elvis? Love it. I love it. How many edges in a cube? 6, 9, 12, or 17? I'm glad I'm not answering these questions because I'm not always sure.
Blame
What
Araf for
name
that.
is given to the Japanese skill of growing miniature trees? Zen, bonsai, tree growing, or Tai Chi? Like the tree growing.
Let's
We'll
go
give
through the answers.
everybody... We've got 3 more minutes, and we've been a bit fast.
Was this thingy you were going to?
Yeah.
So 8
Can I
people are
get the
voting now.
answer to the
No, you
last
did
one?
it.
9 people voting.
Well, then do the other one.
9 out of 22 now. So we've got 9 people who have submitted their answers. 40% of you have participated. You got
Still
3
can't
minutes
see
left.
the actual screen, so.
Hmm.
But I like the questions.
So Alison, maybe we can just read out the questions again, and then
What is the most popularly eaten fruit in the world? Mangoes, cucumber, bananas, watermelon, or tomato? And the answer is?
so we'll end the poll then.
Yeah, go on the poll.
So half of you have participated. Let's see the results.
The actual real answer is bananas, but it's a debate between bananas and tomato.
No.
Yeah, so banana seems to be the most popularly eaten fruit. Nobody has, 2 people got the right answer for what lachanophobia is. It's a fear of vegetables. So there you
I
go.
love it, honestly.
What is the name of the hottest chili pepper in the world?
Carolina.
Yes, it's correct. 27%.
The Reaper.
Yeah, Carolina Reaper. And what year did Mark Zuckerberg invent Facebook? 5 people got it right. 2004. And what does an arctophile collect? And it's teddy bears. I didn't know the answer to this.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, that was a wild card question, I thought.
Zara is an arctophile. She seems to know the answers to these.
Well, 5 of you got it right. So
It's a new identity I will embrace, as I have 2 of them.
Oh, there you go. Good.
Oh,
Thanks
I
very
like
much.
I think that's a good identity to embrace, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So which king burnt the cake? So we've got 1 said Peter, 2 said Henry, 7 said Alfred, and 1 said Alfred. 1 said Elvis. So Alfred, all of those said Alfred. You were right, which is amazing.
I didn't know the answer to that either.
I didn't know the answer to these either. I'm glad that Zara and not myself set the quiz.
Well, he went into hiding when the Vikings invaded England, and he was hidden in a village where they were cooking cakes. He didn't actually burn the cakes because he was hiding in the place where they were cooking, and they were burnt while he was hiding.
Amazing.
Thank
There you
you for
go.
sharing
Some
that.
general knowledge here as well.
We can,
I'm
we
gonna
can
get 2
add that
points
into our
for
quiz
that.
for next time.
You're 2 points.
So
Okay.
how many sides does a cube have? We got 12 being the highest number of people saying it was 12, and 12 was correct. And then final question was, what is the name given to the Japanese skill of growing trees? And
Bonsai.
bonsai was the answer. So well done, everybody. Great quiz.
Well done.
We just thought we would have a little bit of lightheartedness in there to kind of get everybody in and get everyone chatting and saying hello and all that kind of stuff, which is always really nice. But today as well, we've got a couple of speakers with us, and our first...
Three speakers.
Three speakers, yeah, three speakers. Yeah, so we're the couple, sorry. Three speakers. And our first speaker is Alison Thewliss from SMP, an MSP, and she is going to... And I would like to introduce her and ask her to speak. Oh. I've unmuted you. I've unmuted you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. It's lovely to see everybody and to get to spend time with people, because one of the things that I've been looking forward to, having joined in so many iftars last year, was doing that again this year. And I was really sad at the idea that I wouldn't get to see everybody this time. So I'm really pleased that the Muslim Council of Scotland have brought this this virtual iftar together, and I think that's really, really nice, because that is one of the nicest parts of it, that you get to meet people and chat and share food and share each other's company. So thank you, first of all, very much for doing that. I really do appreciate it. And I suppose I wanted to say how different this must feel for everybody this year, because we're all living our lives in very, very different ways than we usually would do. And instead of coming together and seeing your family and seeing your friends and spending more time at the mosque, it must be very, very difficult. And you have my sympathies that this year that's not possible. And I was interested in the wee survey there that people perhaps feel as though they're having a bit more self-reflection and thoughts of themselves. And I suppose that's a symptom of it, but if that can be a good thing as well, with people thinking more about their circumstances and thinking more about their faith, and that is surely something to be welcomed as well. If people are able to step back more than they would do usually from their busy lives and think about that, and I think that's a positive certainly to take from this. And I wanted to thank everybody who's been involved as well, because I know that the mosques and the Muslim Council of Scotland and other groups have been putting together food parcels and doing everything to try and reach members of the community who are that bit more vulnerable and who might not be able to get food parcels or deliveries of their medicines and things like that, because they can't get out and about as they usually would, particularly if they're in that vulnerable or shielding group. And I know how much people across Glasgow have been working hard to make sure that people aren't forgotten about and aren't left behind. And I think the issue of loneliness is a real worry for many, that people don't have those interactions that they usually would have. And I know that everybody's making the efforts that they can do to try and keep in contact with friends and family as much as they can do. As much as you might want to reach out to somebody and give them a hug, I think this will certainly suffice in the meantime, and trying to do everything that we can to keep people going, to keep each other going for as long as we need to be doing this. And I know from speaking to Omar about this a few weeks ago as well, that the issue of people even getting the food that they need has been a challenge in the first few weeks of this as well. And my thanks go out to everybody, all the kind of retailers, all those people that own the shops and produce the food and bring things to people, for their efforts in trying to make sure that people still can get the foods that they need to get at this time. Because if you're struggling anyway and then you can't get the foods that are going to make you feel better, then that's definitely a challenge. So my thanks go out to all the members of the community who have the businesses and shops and are working hard to make sure that we can have food on our plates at the end of the day as well. I think it's so important and unrecognised, I don't think, that the work that's going on behind the scenes to make that possible. But I know from some of the conversations I've had just how hard and how challenging that's been. So I really do appreciate what everyone's doing. And I think we should take a moment as well to recognise those people that are on the front line that have had to keep working, and the doctors and the nurses and the health workers and those people on the front line who are putting themselves at risk every single day in order to make sure that the rest of us can stay fit and well and healthy. And I think it's beginning to be more recognised as well, the impact that coronavirus has had on ethnic minority communities. Particularly, there seems to be a disproportionate effect on many, and I'm sure at some point we will get to some of the reasons for that. But it was quite stark when the figures started coming in for the doctors who'd passed away from coronavirus, and many of those doctors and nurses were from the Muslim community as well. And it really does show how integral the Muslim community is to our healthcare system. and how integral those people are that put themselves on the front line, and the risks that they take for all of the rest of us to keep us well. And I think it's worth thinking about and worth remembering their sacrifices and how their families must be feeling at this time, you know, missing their loved ones as well. And I suppose on a more cheery note, it's worth perhaps thinking about how we do recognise people going forward, and all those people that are out there working every day in the front line, how we thank them in the weeks and months to come, and what can we do to highlight what's been happening and how different communities have come together and the positive things that have come from this, and whether that's people getting to know their neighbours perhaps a little better and people looking out for one another and building that community spirit. I think that's a positive from this as well, because no matter what our circumstances are, if we're able to look out for one another that wee bit better, and if we're able to come together that wee bit better, perhaps we'll be a bit stronger as a society when we come through the other end of this, when we have perhaps more understanding of one another and our circumstances. And I hope very much that that will be how we go forward, and that when we get life back to normal, when we have our celebrations and our different events that go on, that we can use that opportunity that we have just to reach that hand out and to continue those friendships in the weeks and the months ahead. Thank you very much for having me along. It's a real treat to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was great. And I think you really encapsulated how everybody's kind of feeling just now, and that it is a strange and difficult time, but being able to do things like this and for the communities to still come together here means a lot to everybody, and it means a lot that people from all our communities and from out with our communities are all joining together to embrace Ramadan and to embrace the times that we're in. So thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Alison. I'll get straight into our next speaker. Our next speaker is Araf Siddqui. He is a paramedic, and he was the first Muslim to join the Scottish Ambulance Service in 1997. A great achievement back in 1997, and he's also the vice chairman of the Ambulance Service Diversity Forum. So Araf has been working on the front line, helping everyone in this situation that we are in. So first of all, I think we'd all like to thank Araf for the hard work that him and all his colleagues are putting in. It's an unbelievable achievement and an unbelievable level of work and service that you're providing, Araf, so we can't thank you enough. And we hope that you stay safe for the remainder of this coronavirus lockdown and the whole situation. So I'll let you carry on and just give us a brief idea of what it's like working on the front line and what kind of things you've encountered along the way.
Well, for us, the job's changed incredibly over the past 2-3 months since we started getting a rise in coronavirus cases. Just going to work now, it's a huge fear and anxiety for ourselves. You've got the fear of catching the virus, fear of bringing it home, spreading it to your family. Many of my friends and colleagues at work have had the virus, tested positive. Quite a few have been in hospital, quite seriously ill. One of my colleagues just last week, a paramedic, died here in the west of Scotland. So it really brings it home how serious this virus is. So yeah, the fears there, the anxieties there. But for us, for myself, I mean, that's counteracted by our sense of duty as a duty of care towards our communities. So we go in every day, we do our very best for our patients and for our communities, and do whatever we can, and we will carry on as long as we possibly can physically. Mentally, yeah, it's taken its toll. If you know the ambulance service and the emergency service in general, there's a lot of camaraderie there. We have a sense of humour, which we need to get through. And I've noticed over the past few weeks, over the months, that's starting to go down a bit. You can see in people's eyes, and my colleagues' eyes, you know, it's not the same. We're not enjoying our job anymore, although we're doing it, we're happily doing it. There's no enjoyment in it. Obviously, our cases have risen. Our general activity levels have fallen with the normal kind of cases we used to get over the past couple of months. But we've got a serious rise in, obviously, life-threatening conditions we're dealing with now. Up until recently, I think about 70% of our jobs were coronavirus related. We're dealing with a lot of death at home now, a lot of cardiac arrest, not just with coronavirus, and this is a worrying thing. We've got people now that are hesitant to call the ambulance service because they don't want to burden the NHS, or they're afraid to go to hospital. People out there that have had heart attacks, have had strokes, diabetic emergencies, and they haven't phoned us out. And by the time we have been called out days later, it's been too late. For me, that it's really sad, and that's taken its toll on us. Because by the time we get in there, we know there was a chance we could have done something. We're trying to tell people we are still there for you. The ambulance service is still there for you, not just for corona-related cases, but for everything. The health service is still open. The NHS is still open for everything else. Please don't hesitate to call if you have any concerns here. If you have any chest pains, any signs of diabetes, or any kind of serious conditions, we are still there for you. It's trying to get that message through. And unfortunately, some people are just hesitant. Again, some of the people I've talked to and family members, they've said to us, no, we didn't want to burden the NHS. We know you're under a lot of pressure. We didn't know we could or we should have phoned the ambulance service. Other ones said, well, we were afraid to go to hospital in case we catch the coronavirus because they've been self-isolating, they're elderly. There's a lot of very obviously very worried people out there. Now we're going out now to jobs. It's a different job for us now. But obviously before we go into homes, we've got to take our time. We've got to put our PPE equipment on, which takes time again, which is again very stressful, because when we get to any kind of life-threatening emergencies, we tend to grab our equipment, run into the house, which we can't do anymore. We're pulling up outside homes. We're having to go in the back, get changed into our proper equipment, and then go in. And we've had families come out, they're banging on this ambulance, they're shouting at you to hurry up, which just obviously increases the stress levels for us. Yeah, so the job has changed. We're taking people to hospital, and again, we're taking mostly serious people to hospital, and we can't take any family members with us, so we're leaving family members behind who are distraught. A big part of our job is compassion and empathy. Even at homes, we're not able to do that. We've got face masks on, they can't see our facial expressions, they can't see that human touch is missing, but for 23 years, that's the part of the job. Me personally, I've loved dealing with people, calming people down, reassuring people, sitting with the elderly, holding hands, making them a cup of tea after a job. We can't do that anymore. And that's why I feel most what I miss about the job and what's really hurts me now. So yeah, the job's absolutely changed. Right across the health sector, the mental health issues, you know, as far as PTSD, I think we will have a lot to deal with after all this coronavirus thing is over, because just talking to colleagues who are nurses, doctors, paramedics, we're suffering just now. We're feeling it. I mean, what we're seeing out there, the public don't know, and that's why I really, on social media, people I see, talk to family, tell them it's how important it is to stay home at the moment, to practice social distancing and isolating. My big concern now is Ramadan obviously has been good because people are staying home, but my big concern is when Eid comes now, because Eid for us is obviously a very big family occasion. We go and meet family. That is what Eid's about. It's a very joyful occasion. It's a day of celebration. And my concern is, and the message I'm trying to get out there, that this Eid will be different, and it has to be different. You have to stay home. You can't visit family members, regardless of if you've been self-isolating and they've been self-isolating. And obviously, as part of our culture as well, we're very kind of touchy. We shake hands, we give hugs. We've got to keep away from that for the foreseeable future. We've got to change the way we act, the way we up as far as you know, all these kind of the things we do or used to do. Eid, again, we've got to make sure we tell our families, we tell our friends, you have to stay home. You can't just go and visit family, or we'll just pop in for 5 minutes, because it only takes 5 minutes to spread this virus. And would you rather see your family next year or see them for 5 minutes over Eid and pass the virus on? So that's my big concern at the moment. The job, I mean, yeah, we've seen a lot. We've seen a lot of grief. We've seen, but it's very sad, yeah.
Jazakallah for that, Araf. A very powerful message to us all there. It really hits home on how serious the situation is from hearing stories from the front line, and how important it is that we do practice what's been told by all the doctors and the government. You know, it's not just okay, let's see how it goes for a few weeks and we can relax. Absolutely not.
No.
It's been done for a reason, you know.
My concern is I'm still hearing stories that, especially young ones, are still going out. I've had families get in touch with me. Can you please tell our kids, you know, we've got teenagers out, they're still meeting their friends, they're still going out. They don't seem to realise the seriousness of it. Yeah. That they're going out and what they're going, and I've tried to tell them, I've been very blunt about it. You're going out, it's a good chance. The only thing you're going to bring back when you come home is death. You have got to avoid it. You've got to protect your family. You might feel okay, but what you're bringing back home is a deadly virus, you know. And you know, take this seriously. And it's time to get that message across to the young ones. Now, there's no home out there, household out there that doesn't know anybody that's either had coronavirus or somebody that's passed away from it. You know, people are obviously starting to pay heed. Again, I keep going on about Eid coming, and I'm very worried about it because I know the way our communities can be. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are following the guidelines, and I sincerely hope they continue to do so over Eid.
I hope so. Exactly. Lindsay, I'll let you carry on.
No, thank you so much for that very powerful speech, and also thank you so much for that reminder. And I think it's really important as lockdown carries on, it's becoming the new norm and people are getting used to it. And I've noticed anyway, it's definitely a bit busier outside and people are being a little bit more lax. So I think especially as it's coming up to such an important time of year, you know, we're in Ramadan and it gives us time to sit at home and reflect, but Eid, we want to go out and party and be with everybody. And I think especially having a reminder from somebody on the front line makes a massive difference. It's definitely hit home to me. So thank you so much for that reminder. Our next speaker of the evening is Maureen, who is the director of Interfaith Scotland, and somebody who has been very, very deeply affected by the coronavirus, being that she has just managed to get back from Australia and New Zealand very recently. So thank you so much for joining us now that you are back home in Scotland.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone, and Ramadan Mubarak and Ramadan Kareem. I only learned the new one today, the Ramadan Kareem, so I'm wanting to practice it. So Ramadan Kareem, I hope I'm saying it right. You know, I've been to so many wonderful iftars in my time as director of Interfaith Scotland, but this one must surely be the strangest. And I'm sure all of you are feeling this too. At the end of a day of fasting, the joy I know that you normally feel, you know, when you're coming together, sharing food with friends and community, that's actually been taken away from you just now at this time of COVID crisis. And I'm really sad for you. I mean, that's already been mentioned by Alison, just that sense of loss that must be for you. And some of you will still be able to end the fast with your family, but others may be eating food alone. And the sense of loneliness, perhaps even more intense, because it's usually such a joyful community time coming together for your iftars. And I was sort of thinking about what that might feel like, you know, to be at the end of a day of fasting and just not have your usual celebration and time together. And I was thinking of one of the purposes of fasting, I know, is to draw closer to God. So during this holy month of Ramadan, I really just wish for all of you an intense closeness to Allah, so that whether you're with family or you're alone, you'll really not actually feel alone, but you'll feel at one and sort of in a spiritual communion with your true friend, with Allah. So I really wish that for you during this holy month, that you build that stronger sense of your connection to Allah, because during times of crisis, prayer and that intense sense of connection can really help us through. So I really wish that for you. This week I had to prepare a wee report for the Scottish Government. It was only just a preliminary one on the challenges faced and the sort of initiatives that were being taken by the faith communities at this time. And I can only say with hand on my heart that it's been quite an incredible thing just to have, to be in touch with the communities and find out what's happening and what's going on. I've been really, really humbled by the amount of work that faith communities are doing right across Scotland at this really difficult time. In your own community, mosques preparing hot iftari food, delivering food to the old and the vulnerable, delivering hot iftari food to the NHS staff, preparing weekly food packs, dropping off gifts of dates to hundreds of families, Muslim doctors, male and female, giving free telephone consultations to the community, Christians and Muslims and other communities working together, which is really nice for me to see as Director of Interfaith Scotland. I know, for example, that the Christian community and the Muslim community in Dunfermline were working together to deliver food. I know that Aberdeen and Inverness mosques are doing a lot in partnership with others. I even phoned the Lansana, who's a Muslim friend. I think he's president of the mosque in my hometown, which is Elgin. And I was just saying, asking him how he was doing and what kind of things they were doing in their community. And he says, well, we're a really small community, but we phone each other all the time just to check on how we're doing. And it's one of the things that sometimes people can forget. I don't know if all of you, if you're involved in different organisations, that there's a lot of Zooming going on and you can get so zoomed out. And it's really refreshing to pick up the telephone and actually have just a proper conversation with one person, one-to-one, that sense of dialogue. So I've done quite a bit of that this week, and I've found that incredibly uplifting. For example, one story I heard when I phoned the Salvation Army, they were telling me about...
Maureen, can I just stop you for 1 second quickly? The fast is open in Aberdeen. So great. If I could ask the Imam of Aberdeen to read the prayer to open the fast, and then we'll get back to you again, Maureen.
No bother, okay? Yeah, that would be lovely, yeah.
Sheikh Ibrahim, I know you're fasting. If you want to, could you read the dua for us?
Inshallah. Yeah. So for how long? 2 minutes? 1 minute?
1 minute would be great, thanks. And then we'll get back to Maureen and then we'll keep going.
We'll open the fast.
I'll open your fast as well, please.
Alhamdulillah. 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 ذهب الظمأ وابتلت العروق وثبت الأجر إن شاء الله. اللهم لك صمت وعلى رزقك أفطرنا وإنك أنت العزيز الحكيم. We fasted for the sake of Allah and we break the fast for his sake, and he is the mighty. And indeed, now the thirst is gone and the veins came to life and the reward is confirmed by the blessing of Allah. Ameen, ameen, ameen.
Ameen. Jazakallah, Sheikh. I really appreciate that. You can have your dates now and enjoy yourself.
Okay. We've got another 12 minutes.
We won't mind.
We'll just wait.
All right. I better not talk for too long then.
No, it's okay.
No.
Sorry, Maureen.
You keep
Maureen.
Not that I was going to talk for 12 minutes.
Back to you, Maureen. Back to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I phoned the Salvation Army and they were telling me about all the food banks that they had, it was the Edinburgh East that I'd actually phoned. And then he was saying, but they were doing some personal things as well, he and his wife. So, for example, on a Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, how the Salvation Army quite often plays in brass bands? Well, they both play brass instruments and they go out onto their drive and play uplifting songs and nursery rhymes. And he said the first week, there was about 10 of the neighbours came out to have a listen, socially distanced and all that kind of stuff. And he said, but last week, there was 40 to 50 of the neighbours lined the streets and were joining in with the songs, and the kids were joining in with the nursery rhymes. And sometimes it's just those personal stories that, the little initiatives that people are taking to uplift each other's hearts at this really difficult time. So I found that listening to that, those kind of stories, and Azam, I think you might be there tonight. Can't see everyone at the moment. And he was telling me stories about what his community were doing and others. And it's really great. And actually, even globally, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar and Pope Francis together, unitedly called for a day of prayer on the 14th of May. And actually, it was a day of prayer, fasting and charitable deeds. So it'd be really nice to see other communities fasting with you I think the 14th might be Thursday. I think I'm right. So there's going to be worldwide a joint initiative by the Catholic Church and the Muslim community to have a day of prayer right across the globe. So again, that kind of joint interfaith initiatives, I think, is just great. So this is just, I don't know if you're probably aware of this more than me, but this is just over the halfway point of Ramadan. So you can look forward to Eid in a sense of spiritual fellowship. But sadly, it is not yet, I fear, the halfway point of COVID-19. So the hygiene, health, responsibility for one's neighbour that is hardwired as part of Islam has to continue to be the norm, not just for Muslims, but actually for all of us. And Araf, I was really moved by your stories of just what it must be like for the ambulance drivers. I have a niece that's a nurse. She's a head nurse in an old people's home up in Huntly. And my sister phoned me today just saying that she was really distressed because Kelly and Kelly's a very practical young lass, but she had a complete panic attack where she couldn't breathe just going to work. And it wasn't for herself. She was just so worried about all the elderly people that she takes care of. And in the end, the doctor had to give her some medicines just so that she could go to work. And I think when we think about people on the front line like that, it really, gets to you. And every day, we have an old lady next door, Margaret, she's 93. And every day we go, obviously, and check on her, see how she's doing. And yesterday, when we went, she was really distressed because her best friend, May, had just died in one of the care homes in Glasgow. And, they've been friends all their lives. So we went, we got her flowers and just tried to make her feel better. And then at about 6 o'clock last night, the ambulance arrived. And Margaret, 93, had fallen over. And she was taken away by the ambulance. And so she's now in hospital. Her son came through from Edinburgh, couldn't see her, can't go to hospital to see her. She's forgotten to take her mobile phone with her. She's 93 and she just had a fall. And now this next door neighbour is just completely not isolated in that she'll have all the wonderful NHS staff. But I was just thinking how stressful that must be for the family. It's really stressful for us, even just as our next, living next door to her. And it's all these, the stories of upliftment, and then the stories that you get that are real, that people are really challenged and suffering at this time. And so just, I suppose at this time of fasting, when I know it's your time of spirituality and care and generosity, it's just to keep doing what you're doing, all the great work that the Muslim community is doing across Glasgow and across Scotland. We're all with you, and Araf, thank you. And also Alison, I think the government's doing a great job as well. So just thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Maureen. Thanks for that. That's really kind of you. Great words from Maureen there. And the work that Maureen does in the interfaith sector is unbelievable. If you haven't followed much of what Maureen does, you need to look into the kind of work that she does. It was new to me, and it's unbelievable what you do, Maureen. So keep it up. You're an inspiration to us all. All right, thanks, Maureen.
Is it? It's never enough.
No, you're right. We've got a couple of minutes left. I was going to ask if Dr. Rafiq's daughter would like to read the nasheed for a minute or two before we read the dua and then open the fast. We'll take it off mute. Okay. Dr. Rafiq, I think you need to unmute yourself. Zara, could you maybe unmute? There we go. That's us. Yeah, that's us. Yeah, that's better. This is Rabia here, and she's going to read an Arabic nasheed for us.
وأجمل منك لم ترى قط عين وأطيب منك لم تلد النساء خلقت مبرأ من كل عيب كأنك قد خلقت كما تشاء قمرون قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل قمر سيدنا النبي قمرون وجميل سيدنا النبي وجميل.
Thank you, Rabia. That's great. The time for Iftaar is here. Could I ask Dr. Habib to do the azan for us before we go any further? Would that be okay, Dr. Sab?
Azan or dua?
Whatever you say.
اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب الصقر وقنا عذاب الميزان. ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. ربنا تقبل منا صيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا وسجودنا وأذكارنا وعبادتنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. صلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك.
I think that's time for everyone to open their fast, so it's a good time for everyone. Traditionally, they're open with dates and some water, but for the Asian families, they'll know what this is. I don't know if you can see it.
What is it?
Ruafsa.
What is it? What's it made of?
So it's there's milk, and Ruafsa is like a. I'll get the bottle. Yeah, it's like a rose type syrup. I'll get it. Hold on, let me get the bottle. Tell me pass the bottle.
Get the bottle. I'll get the bottle. I love. We have our dates. So alhamdulillah. Okay. Allahumma inni.
I feel like I should have some dates to go and join you. I'm going to go and have a look for some.
Everyone can join in.
I've definitely got prunes, but I don't think that counts.
I'd like to say salam and hi to a lot of people here. We've got Philip from Interfaith Glasgow, Graham, who is an SNP councillor, but also the convener of the Black, Asian and minority ethnic group for the SNP. Am I right in saying that, Graham?
You are right indeed. Thank you.
Great, I remembered it rightly. Alumni of the MCS, Dr. Ali Salam. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sab, how are you? Nice to see you. We've also got Brother Adrees from the MCB. Brother Adrees will be having his mute by now.
Thank you very much. Hey everyone, Assalamu alaikum from Birmingham.
Hello. Adrees, how are you?
Good.
Hold on, I'm going to put people on mute. Hold on. Here we go.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you very much for a lovely Iftaar from Birmingham.
Thank you very much. Nice to speak to you. Hope you're doing well.
You too. It's lovely.
Thank you for organising.
We've got Umran from Penny Appeal. Hello Umran, nice to see you. And Dr. Abdalla from Aberdeen. Welcome Umran. That's just the people I know. I'm sure everyone knows everyone else. Right, I think we can wrap up there and we can go and enjoy the main meal and read namaz. That's our prayer for breaking the fast. So, thank you very much for everyone for coming.
Thank you so much. It was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison.
Really enjoyed
Thank you,
it.
Araf, and thank you
Ramadan
very
Kareem.
much, Maureen.
Yeah.
And Ramadan Kareem. Thanks, Graham.
Even
Thanks a
better
lot.
than Britain's
Thanks,
Got
Philip.
Talent.
And thank you to Rabia for her lovely nasheed.
Definitely. Thank you, everybody, for all
Thank
of you and for our speakers and for everybody. It really made MCS's first Zoom Iftar very special for us all. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Enjoy your dinner. Well deserved.
Thanks, everybody.
We will. Yeah. Bye.
Assalamualaikum.
Happy Iftar.
Thank you so much, Philip, for joining us.
No problem.
Philip.
Enjoy your.
We will. It's been a long day. It's time for a meal.
Thank you, Sheikh Ibrahim.
Enjoy.
He's gone.
Thank
Sheikh
you.
Ibrahim's gone. Thanks, Anne. Thanks, Noor. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Anne. Bye.
Bilal.
Bye.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And enjoy your
Welcome,
iftar.
Dr.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks, Dr. Ibrahim. Jazakallah for coming.
Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Feels like
Awesome.
everybody's like,
That's fine. I'm eating popcorn, so I can't talk to you.
I'll just remove everybody. I'm going to stop the live feed in a minute.
great. We've had viewers on the live feed, which is great.
I'll throw everyone out the room.